Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with a brand new line of Mattel Jurassic World toys. We've got the Mighty Little Biters. These guys have been out for a few weeks, but they've been a little tricky to find because they're only beginning to kind of trickle out. But they recently went into stock on Entertainment Earth and also went into stock on Target's website, so you can now buy them from two different places, and I now finally have them here to check out with you guys. As you can see, in a very strange turn of events, we have only 3 figures in this wave. Normally, Mattel seems to release their figures in 4s, but when it comes to the first wave of Mighty Little Biters, there are only 3. We've got the Tyrannosaurus Rex, the Spinosaurus, and Ankylosaurus. So some pretty fun choices for sure. As you can see, they're very stylized, very kind of Snap Squad-ish as far as the overall look, but obviously a bit different as well. So this is basically the ever-evolving, similar style to the Snap Squads, where we go from like the Snap Squads to the pop-ups and now to the Mighty Little Biters. As you can see though, packaging-wise, it's pretty decent. You've got the Mighty Little Biters logo right there, the species name, Jurassic World, and then of course some bite marks taken out of the packaging, which makes sense, hence the name. And then here on the back, you can see basically like a little advertisement for the other 2 figures that are in this wave, which we have all of again right here to take a look at. So let's pop these out of the packages and take a closer look. So beginning with the one that I would think is probably the most anticipated from the line, the Spinosaurus. Everybody loves a good Spinosaurus, and this one has quite the unique look to it, especially with that one random tooth kind of sticking up out here on the mouth on each side. You can see again, it's a very interesting look for the Spinosaurus, quite different from what we've seen in the past, but at the same time sporting kind of a Jurassic Park 3 sort of a look as far as the tones of color and the overall appearance. Again, just a little bit different, especially with those teeth. But you can see sculpt-wise, it never ceases to impress me how Mattel will always go all out when it comes to the detailing of their figures. When it comes to even these stylized, sort of goofy-looking figures, they always give us really highly detailed sculpts. Jeez, I don't know why my camera refused to focus on it right there. But very highly detailed sculpts. You can see the skin texture looks really quite nice. We've also got the nostrils sculpted out. Of course, those Spinosaurus crests. We have really nice big bright green eyes with a black pupil. And then there is a little spot in there to kind of give it an eye shine sort of a look. But at the same time, it already has a pretty nice shiny look to those eyes. And you can see, of course, the same thing again on both sides. Now, the gimmick for these, you basically press the head, and I think the mouth opens and the eyes move. So there we go. Definitely really cool, but this will give us a chance to look at the inside of the mouth. So you can see the tongue in there, nicely textured, and the detail looks pretty much the standard basically throughout the inside of the mouth. Really nice pinkish tone. I actually really quite like that. We could see the gloss coat shining in there very impressively as well, genuinely giving it quite the wet look. And now we can obviously see the teeth are huge on the figure. So basically, these Mighty Little Biters, when you press on the back of their head, they basically get mad and open their mouths. Their teeth kind of grow, which you can see. The teeth from the upper jaw, at least, kind of extend out. The teeth on the lower jaw are apparently always pretty big, but also the eyes get all bloodshot and red, and he looks super, super angry now with some pinkish tones and stuff in the eyes. And honestly, it looks really, really neat. I actually quite like that. I definitely can see I'm going to be a big fan of this line, and it's the first time in a while I felt that way when it comes to a similar line like this, as the pop-ups were kind of a letdown, I think, compared to the Snap Squads. But moving through the top of the head of the Spino, you can see again some really nice scale detail, nice reddish tone up there. Moving down along the back of the neck, you can see kind of like some ridges following along the back of the neck on both sides. Again, really nice impressive skin texture. You have the red moving along the back of the neck, and then the gray moving along the rest of the body. As you lead down, you've got a little itty bitty sail here, which looks really cool. Also, again, features some nice texturing. We have the reddish tone overtaking the sail, as well as running out onto the tail a little bit, and outside of that, it's basically just the grayish coloration. You can see that outside of the jaw and the neck, there isn't any articulation on these figures, which is kind of a bummer, because I would have expected maybe articulated legs or something, not necessarily articulated arms, but as we can see, no dice, no articulation at all on the rest of the figure. But we can see again that the Detailing looks pretty good. The hands are sculpted nicely. The nails sculpted nicely, but not painted. Same deal as we move down through the legs. You can see the muscle definition looks really good. The skin texture looks really good. And of course, we have those oversized feet with the scoots down the toes. And we do even have dew claws sculpted out. And then again, that really tiny tail right there. But the Spino is actually really quite cool, and I definitely like him. As far as the Ankylosaurus goes, I'm surprised it's not an Ankylosaurus bumpy. It is just like a random Ankylosaurus and a really quite exaggerated looking version. But you can see again some nice looking skin texture. The kind of like horns on the top of the head here are very different compared to most Mattel Ankylosaurus, definitely giving this one a bit of a different look compared to what we're used to. We can see the nostrils, the very impressive skin texture throughout. We have a yellowish, like a very dark yellowish tone for the upper body, and then a brown for the lower half. You've also got a nice dark brown for the beak, and then when you take a look over here, you're going to see pretty much the same thing. Let's go ahead and see what the eyes look like. Oh, there we go. So the eyes get crazy on the Ankylosaurus. We now have green and yellow eyes with a black pupil, and then of course the bloodshot look, making him look exactly as we would expect, very angry and ready to bite. And obviously our Ankylosaurus gets very carnivorous like teeth when it gets angry and is about to apparently bite us, and it looks really cool, honestly. A little bit ridiculous, but very cool. You can also see the actual gloss coat on the teeth is really well done. It actually looks surprisingly realistic. And you can see again the nicely sculpted and textured tongue, the very impressive pinkish tone, same sort of pink I think as what we had seen on the Spinosaurus for the inside of the mouth. When you look up here on the top, you can see again the nicely armored look to the top of the head. Leading down, you can continue to see again that same style of sort of armored scales moving along the back of the neck and then down into the back. You've got all of the spikes kind of leading out of the side and all of those kind of scoots moving along the top of our Ankylosaurus. As you lead out, you can see the club tail as well is sculpted, which is nice. It's also painted a different tone of color, so I think that means this one has the most as far as variation of color goes so far in the line. I would say overall, honestly, because it doesn't look like the T-Rex has any more than the Spino did, but a nice light sort of off-white there for the club tail. And then you lead down, you can see how the tail really quite nicely curves up, a little unrealistically, I would say. I don't know if Ankylosaurus could really get its tail up that high, but definitely interesting that they chose to give it that kind of a goofy sculpt. And then you lead down into the feet, and the feet look absolutely crazy. And even though we don't have any actual paintwork for the nails, you can see there is a nice gloss coat on the nails, which helps it look a bit more, at least a little different compared to the rest of the body. And the skin texture here in the legs looks really nice. There's also a speckling that I can see on this one, but the detail overall is really quite vibrant. We can see all the muscle definition and everything throughout the course of the legs, and not a whole lot when it comes to fine detail on the underside of the Ankylosaurus, but there is nice detailing on the underside of the feet. But overall, our Ankylosaurus is really quite cool. And then of course we've got our T-Rex, because no Mattel line is complete without a T-Rex, and this time we shockingly have a green Rex to start with, so kind of a male version, but you can see the scale detail looks really cool on this. And one thing that is neat about these figures is because they have this very, kind of goofy gimmick to them, it actually causes our T-Rex to have lips. So one of the goofiest looking T-Rex figures we've had, but also kind of adding in a little bit of improvement as far as scientific accuracy goes in one hand, I guess, kind of, as far as like the addition of having lips. But that is actually kind of neat. But the scales look really good. You can see lots of variation to the sizes of the scales. We really only have a green, kind of a light green for the upper body, and then a tan for the lower jaw. And that's really it. There's no other coloration actually moving down along the underside, and shockingly no patterning or anything through the upper side of the Rex, which is kind of weird. But once we move the head forward, we can now see the eyes are super bloodshot. He looks absolutely as angry as it gets. The teeth are obviously huge now, which we can see, and again have that very impressive gloss coat. That satin shine they have looks really nice. I hope they continue to have that nice shine on the teeth of the newer Mattel figures as well, because I just feel like it looks more realistic than what I'm used to. But you can also see again the pinkish tone for the tongue, Again, nicely textured and everything, and they're pretty much the same as the other ones have had going on the whole time. As we move down, you see the scale detail and everything continue to look really nice, really impressive. We've got the muscle definition really nicely, honestly, sculpted out in the legs, and the skin texture as well looks pretty good. You've got those oversized feet with the scoots down the toes, and again, no nail paint, which I really wish they would have actually included some nail paint, especially on this one, since there's really not much color at all on it. But you can see, oddly enough, rather than 2 fingers, we have 3 fingers for our T-Rex. So Mattel just seems to be getting weirder and weirder when it comes to the stuff that they do with their dinosaurs. Again, I don't know. That's very strange to me, looking like a T-Rex Allosaurus hybrid or something right here. I think that might be the first time they've done that. So strange. I can't get past that. But on the underside, again, not a whole lot when it comes to fine detail except for the undersides of the feet. The legs are in a slightly different position from one side to the other. You can see some decent detailing there as the tail leans up. Again, just like we saw on the Ankylosaurus. And then again, pretty much the same thing over here on this side, except for the leg is kind of taking a step forward. The arms are also in a slightly different position. But very cool looking figure, just quite goofy overall. As far as a size goes, you can see the T-Rex is the biggest at about 3 inches or a little over 7.5 centimeters. The Spinosaurus is only about 2.5 inches or 6.5 centimeters. And the Ankylosaurus is 2.25 inches or right around 5.5 centimeters. Similar in length all the way through, I would think, but definitely a little different in height. But for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A human being next to our mighty little biters, and you can see that they are pretty decently sized. I feel like they're probably the largest as far as these type of figures that we've had so far. I feel like they're definitely a little bit bigger than both the pop-ups and snap squads. But for another comparison to test that theory, we actually have the Wild Pop-Ups version of the Spinosaurus here next to the Mighty Little Biters figures, including, of course, the Spinosaurus. And you can see kind of similar in size, but differently posed. So maybe they're not a whole lot bigger. I mean, I never really thought they were a lot bigger, but it seems like maybe they are of a similar size, but just posed really quite differently, since these ones are standing a little bit taller, whereas the pop-ups were more crouched due to their action feature. And we've also got a Snap Squad. Here is an Indominus Rex that I had repainted a while ago, which we can see that the Snap Squads were definitely a little bit smaller than the Mighty Little Biters were. So there is a little bit of a size difference here. So these brand new Mattel Jurassic World Mighty Little Biters figures are actually really fun. I definitely dig these guys, and I'm actually pretty excited about the release of more, and there's so many more species we can get as time goes on, and honestly, it's almost like a breath of fresh air to be able to return to something that's actually pretty fun when it comes to these style figures, because again, the pop-ups were just so awkward and not really that exciting that it's very fun to actually have some pretty cool looking figures in this toy line, and again in this style. So definitely hyped about that, but honestly the figures are really fun. I think the sculpts are really cool. They're very exaggerated, very stylized, as these type figures usually are, but they also have a really cool look and a very highly detailed look. And obviously they still resemble the dinosaurs they're meant to resemble, I think even more so than like the pop-ups and snap squads did, which is a plus, especially the Spinosaurus, who looks really cool even though he does have some kind of goofy, almost like fangs sticking up. There are, of course, some areas that are a little bit strange on these guys, like the Tyrannosaurus having 3 fingers for no reason whatsoever, but there are some areas that are really cool, like the T-Rex actually having lips now. The paintwork of the figures is decent. It's not really great. I feel like, there's always room for improvement when it comes to the paintwork of Mattel figures. The T-Rex is definitely the most lackluster overall, as he really doesn't have much coloration at all, like next to none, nearly an unpainted figure. But the Spino and Ankylosaurus look fairly decent as far as the paint apps go. I really wish they would have added nail paint, especially considering they used to on the Snap Squads, but unfortunately, no nail paint on any of these. There is a little bit of a gloss coat for the nails, though. But the action feature is also really cool. I definitely dig that. I think it's really fun, and it works nicely, and also gives off a really cool visual for the figures. I wish there was more articulation on them, like articulated legs and arms would have been fun, but Again, it's not the end of the world. I guess you can't have everything. Regardless, they're definitely cool figures, and they're only like $5, so they're basically the same price as the other ones that were out with like the Snap Squads and pop-ups, so definitely decent price. Either way, if you are interested, I will include links in the description where you can grab them again from Entertainment Earth, and if they are available currently on Target's website as they were kind of going in and out of stock, I will include links there as well. One way or another, definitely worth picking up, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.